the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, August 16th in the year 2021. And no matter if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast or if you're watching us on YouTube, I want to thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes a part of your day. On today's episode, we're going to highlight and talk about this alliance that's being reported that the ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 might put together. Jake Arthur, covers of Indianapolis Colts for Sports Illustrated, will be back with us, continuing our Buckeye road trip around the NFL. Today, we're talking about Mr. Parris Campbell. But we opened the show talking about some big news that came out of Saturday's scrimmage. Not one, not two, but three Buckeyes lost their black stripes in one day. Very, very exciting time anytime one Buckeye loses their black stripe. When there's two, it's even bigger. When there's three, it's a reason for us to be happy and excited, especially when one of them committed to Ohio State on the 4th of July. That's correct. JT Tuimoloau lost his black stripe already, and he just recently I'm being honest with you. He just joined the Buckeyes not that long ago. The team is excited. The team is wowed. He has bought into the system. He has bought into what Ohio State is doing. He has bought into the culture, and he has already deserves his black stripe to be removed. One of the best things I like about the Ohio State Buckeyes website, as I go here to get notes from the website all the time, they have the correct pronunciation for JT's last name on their website. There has the Ohio State overview site. There's a more on JT section of the website on this bio page. And all of a sudden you see the very first thing is pronounced, and it has the word, the hyphen, so you get each and every syllable there correct. Like I mentioned, he made his commitment on July 4th, 2021. JT Tuimoloau, five-star recruit from the Seattle area. He is the number 24 all-time ranked recruit in 24/7 sports history. Not just this year, but history. Think about how good that man was when he played the high school football. He was named the 2021 Polynesian High School Football Player of the Year. His commitment gave the Buckeyes 5 of the nation's top 10 ranked players in the 2021 signing class. He led Eastside Catholic to a pair of 3 A-State titles in his career in 2018 and 2019. He was named the SB Live Washington Player of the Year, despite a shortened high school season that occurred in the spring due to COVID-19. JT Tuimoloau, some call him JTT. Very excited that he lost his black stripe. Before him was Jesse Mirco, the Aussie, standing at 6'4", 220 pounds, from Fremantle, Australia, from Christian Brothers College High School over there in Australia. Number 29, JT Tuimoloau, number 44 with his jersey number. Jesse Mirco, number 29. He signed his letter of intent with Ohio State in September because he's already 23, a little bit older of a young man to come play the football at Ohio State. He comes from Pro Kick Australia, the same program that developed former Buckeye Cameron Johnson, a Ray Guy Award finalist, and he is also on the Philadelphia Eagles. Jesse Mirco, he was a 2-star punter. Not sure how much weight that holds, but everybody cares about recruiting rankings. Number 2 punter in Australia, number 4 punter in the recruiting class. Mr. Mirco, very happy that he lost his black stripe. And then last but not least, Evan Pryor. He is a 4-star running back recruit, number 7 ranked recruit in his class in the state of North Carolina, number 7 running back recruit in his entire class. 5'10", 198 pounds He's a freshman from Cornelius, North Carolina, William Amos Ho High School. Think about it. Ohio State has 2 top 10 running backs in their class, Trevion Henderson and now Mr. Evan Pryor. And then he was the nation's number 2 ranked all-purpose back, a top 100 player who checked in at number 84 in 24/7 Sports composite rankings. Did not play his senior year at William Amos Ho High School as the state of North Carolina postponed high school football to the spring due to COVID, and Evan Pryor was an early enrollee at The Ohio State University. Last but not least, remember I said it was a big weekend for Ohio State? This is credit. I got to give credit to where credit is due. Kirk Barton from Buckeye Scoop had this. I believe he had it first. Also had about a 10-minute interview on the YouTube where he was discussing and talking about, he interviewed Quinn Ewers upon arriving, before he arrived at Ohio State. Quinn Ewers is on campus. Quinn Ewers is at Ohio State. He is in Columbus. And from the family gathering and pictures that were there from the shoot over the weekend, Quinn Ewers was there. Now, Kirk Barton tweeted out the picture. He was not somebody that was there because media was not allowed to be in there for the scrimmage and the family outing over the weekend. But Quinn Ewers is at Ohio State. Take that for what it's worth. Many of you will be watching and anticipating and seeing and being curious to see what Quinn Ewers does in practice, how quickly he picks up the playbook, how his body fills out. I liken him to, not the same type of player, hopefully, as Mr. Tate Martell. Tate Martell, when he was in high school on QB1, the Netflix documentary, which I really hope they bring back, that was really good. I love watching those documentaries highlighting the high school athletes that would be hopefully future stars at the college football level. Not everybody was. I say hopeful because you always want people to succeed. But Tate Martell's body when he was playing football at Bishop Gorman High School was not the body that he had after his freshman year at Ohio State, or even the body he has now as he transfers from the University of Miami down in Florida to UNLV, back to where his parents live. His body is filled out, and I truly am anticipating just the filling out of the body, the gaining of the muscle, and really showing how much the mind can take at Ohio State for Mr. Quinn Ewers, JT Tuimoloau, Evan Pryor, Jesse Mirco, a defensive lineman, a running back, a punter. All 3 lose their black stripes. And then now Quinn Ewers, true freshman, 5-star recruit, best recruit in the class, is at Ohio State as well. We've got to take one quick break. When we come back, we will discuss this alliance that is possibly being formed between the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC. What does it mean? Stick around to find out. But first, check this out. Hey, guys. So there are a few things in life that just aren't fun to talk about. One of them is excessive sweating. You know, when you're sweating through your shirts for no reason, it's embarrassing, right? Some of you may know that I personally have dealt with this. When I speak in public, I can't help but sweat through my shirt. Now, listen, I know this isn't life and death, and there are much worse problems in the world, but let's be honest. In the moment, it feels like a big deal. Nobody likes to pit out during an important speech, interview, or first date. God forbid. I'd much rather not worry about it, and that's why I use Sweat Block antiperspirant wipes. Sweat Block is stronger and more effective than most clinical antiperspirants. You simply apply it at night before bedtime. Go to bed. The next morning, you wake up, wash, and go about your day without worrying about sweat, guaranteed. If you or someone you love is dealing with this, you have to check out Sweat Block. Get it today for 20% off at sweatblock.com with promo code LOCKEDON or at Amazon or CVS. If this is your first time checking out Locked On Buckeyes, I want to say welcome. Or if it's your first time in a long time, I want to say welcome back. Make sure. Can't put enough emphasis on this. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Buckeyes, your Odyssey app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever audio podcast app you utilize, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. There will be some YouTube exclusive things that'll be coming. There will be things that'll be coming via the app of the podcast you listen to, because you never know when an extra episode will be coming because there's so much news coming out of Ohio State, so much to talk about going into the season. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a beat. Locked On Buckeyes drops a fresh new episode for you every Monday through Friday. Yes, you heard me correctly before the break. the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC are discussing a possible alliance that they may be forming. It's not so much, those of you that have been around for a while, it is not talking about the same type of bowl coalition or bowl alliance going back to the 90s when you coming off of back-to-back co-national champions in the 91 and 92 seasons. 97 at the end of that season when Michigan Wolverines had a co-national champion that year. The 98 season was the first year of the BCS. People got tired of the BCS, and then you got the college football playoff happened about 6, 7, maybe 8 years ago, and now we're going to be getting expansion because college football can't get right. So this alliance that is possibly being formed by the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12, it's a lot of scheduling, but voting up together as well, because we all know 41 teams make up these conferences is more than the 16 that will eventually make up the SEC. One thing that I don't like is people that are not proactive. They're reactive. Oh, the SEC does this, or Oklahoma and Texas go here. How about we react to what they've done? If you are proactive in what you're doing, you're one step ahead of everybody. The SEC may not have even sought out. I don't know if Greg Sankey was the one that was seeking out the Texas and Oklahoma. I don't know that. I have my own thoughts about the whole Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC situation. But one thing I do know is this. The SEC has this slogan, it just means more. On the outside of the hotel that hosted the SEC Media Days was the words, it just means more. So I'm not just saying this as far as what I think the SEC says. Their slogan, how they view things, how they run themselves as a conference, the teams that are there, many people believe that it truly does mean more in the SEC, which is why they do the things that they do. If I am a team, if I'm a school out there and I'm tired of my conference, would I look at the Big Ten first or the SEC first? Doesn't matter if I'm over there in Utah, if I'm over there in Oregon, if I'm in Iowa State. If the SEC will allow me to join their conference and leave the conference that I am in, I'm going to pack up bags, get my pen out, start writing down some a little to-go letter, write down, type, whatever you want to. I know I'm going to old school now, but type, get something down, write me a little letter, put it on the person's desk, and leave immediately to go to the SEC because it just means more. So now you have a little alliance that's possibly being formed by 3 conferences. Notice one thing that I mentioned now. The ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big Ten. Those are the 3 conferences that are possibly going to form this alliance. The SEC is who they're combating. Ain't nobody worried about the Big 12 no more. I'm not saying they were previously, but ain't nobody worried about the Big 12 right now. Ain't nobody worried about what the Big 12 is doing because the Big 12 might fold. Think about now, those of you that have been around a while for once again, you guys remember the Southwest Conference that folded. I believe it folded in the 90s. You remember the Big East Football Conference. A little bit after the Southwest Conference folded, the Big East Football Conference folded. Basketball, too. The whole conference folded. Now you have Big East back for basketball, not for football. I think the Big East should come back for football because it will make things a whole lot easier, more regional. You'll get you get West Virginia out of the Big 12, get them back in the Big East, maybe the SEC, the ACC, whatever. You will get Syracuse back on a good conference. Would Miami go back to the Big East? That's to be determined. I don't know. But it will make a whole lot more sense if the Big East came back for the football, too. But right now, the Big East has FCS-level football teams in their conference if they were going to, the Big East basketball team, Villanova. Villanova is not a FBS-level football team. They're FCS. And so you have a little issue if you're going to have the same member institutions at the basketball level in the Big East for football. Well, you couldn't do that. So then it'll be a little maneuvering to figure out who would fill that conference, even though we're looking for possibly a trend to super conferences right now, not so much the spreading out regionally, keeping the conferences in that way. But here we are once again. I know I mentioned a cycle of college football. If I haven't, we're going to do it right now. I've been very busy. Things happen. Things come through my head. They might not come through my mouth, but eventually, maybe a little bit later, they might come out. So college football has a cycle. In college football, there are people that are in charge do not like to relinquish their power. They don't. I understand it. So in college football, the conferences run everything. The NCAA gets a bad reputation. The NCAA does not run the FBS level of college football. I've said it numerous times. I'll say it again. They don't run that level of the college football. So when you say the NCAA is to blame for what's going on, NCAA is going to look at you and be like, we ain't got nothing to do with that. We have nothing to do with y'all problems. Those are y'all problems. You notice college basketball don't have the problems y'all got because we run that. Yeah, y'all mad at us for a lot of things right now, but y'all can't get mad at us for not running college football, for the problems college football has, because we don't run that. We aren't in that. So the Bowl Coalition that I mentioned earlier, it was a agreement that happened when they were back-to-back co-national champions in 1990 season and the 1991 season. It was a Bowl Coalition. It was a group of conferences that came together to try to formulate and to pick and choose who the national champion would be without having a national championship game. You're trying to put 1 versus 2 together in the bowl games. It was, off the top of my head, the Big 8 was in this, Southwest Conference was in this, the Big East was in this, the ACC was in this, and the SEC. That's 5 conferences, plus your independent of Notre Dame. There were, I think, 8 bowls that were part of this little bowl coalition they had going on. The old school Pac-10 and the Big 2 were not a part of this due to their contract with the Rose Bowl, which they could not get out of. The 3 years of the bowl coalition, a bowl alliance started in 94 with 95, 96, 97. The coalition was 92, 93, 94. Southwest Conference, I believe, folded, and then they had to rearrange everything. And still, you had co-national champions once again, because the polls were who still had so much weight to name a national champion. They're like, no, we can't do this. So we go to the BCS system. The BCS system, there were still co-national champions during that period as well. You have 4 bowl games in the BCS national championship system at the beginning. One of them was your national championship game. Ultimately, they ended up adding a 5th game to be your standalone BCS national championship game. People didn't like the computers. People didn't like that system. College football, you can't get right. Having the conference commissioners run things or the conferences run things is not wise. You get the playoff system now. People are still disgruntled, and here we are now. The SEC is very, very powerful, and the SEC being powerful and having 16 teams in the future will possibly go to 18 or 20. Me just speculating. This alliance is coming and being formed. It's going to help and allow more working power and more voting together on major issues such as expansion of the college football playoff. It's going to help with the NCAA governance changes. You know, the NCAA does govern some things, not the entire sport, as well as a scheduling pact as well. We're talking about this all week because I'm very intrigued by this alliance. Don't think it's the best move for college football, but it's here. And it's something that I think you and I will need to keep a close eye on because the Big Ten is involved. How deep does the Big Ten get? Is it wise for the Big Ten? What's the best move? We'll talk about this stuff all week long. Step away one more time. When we come back, we will welcome in Mr. Jake Arthur, senior analyst for the Indianapolis Colts for Sports Illustrated, as he will help us continue our Buckeye road trip around the NFL, talking about Colts wide receiver, Mr. Parris Campbell. But first, check this out. Did you know that Built Bar has 9 delicious flavors, plus the occasional limited time flavor as well? When you talk to a Built Bar fan, they're definitely passionate about their favorites. If you don't know the Built Bar flavors, you're definitely missing out. Coconut and coconut almond, 2 of my favorite, cherry and raspberry and mint brownie and peanut butter brownie and double chocolate and even salted caramel. Not only are Built Bar flavors the best tasting, but they're healthy too. 17 to 18 grams of protein, calories ranging from 130 to 180, only 4 to 5 grams of net sugar, and only 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. Go to built.com and use that friendly promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order. Once again, go to built.com and use that friendly promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Baseball season is in full swing, and you can track all the action at BetOnline. Get all the latest news, odds, and info for all your sporting needs, including MLB, NBA, NHL, and all your UFC/MMA action. Before the next pitch, head over to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device and check out all the great sporting news, sign-up bonuses, and contest information. Don't sit on the sidelines anymore, as this is your chance to get into the game as teams prep for their runs to the playoffs. Head to betonline.ag on your laptop or mobile device to sign up today. And when you do, make sure you use that friendly promo code LOCKEDON and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, your online sports book experts. And joining us once again, it is Jake Arthur here on Locked On Buckeyes. Jake Arthur from Sports Illustrated covers the Indianapolis Colts, for Sports Illustrated. Jake, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm awesome, man. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. I got to ask you one question very quickly before we get to Parris Campbell. I love hats. I have like 30 in my closet. Is that hat from brandedbills.com?
It is. Yeah,
okay.
I've got two of them. This light gray one. I've got a dark gray one also.
I have a black one in the back and then the gray on the front. And it has like a black and gray Indiana, the state symbol on the front, just like yours. Just yours blue and gold looks a whole lot better. Might have to hop on that train. Is that something? My brother's wedding was about a week ago, and my cousin saw my hat and she was like, "I like that hat. Where'd you get it?" And another cousin said the same thing. And I told them where I got the hat, and so I saw yours. I was like, maybe it's the same place I got mine. Branded Bills has a lot of good stuff.
They do, yeah. I'm probably not done shopping there, I'm sure, but the two hats I've got have lasted me a while. I wear this all the time.
I might have to add it to my collection here very, very soon. We hit Tyquan Lewis just a couple days ago. We're here with Parris Campbell now. Parris Campbell, a guy 2 years with the Indianapolis Colts, unfortunately only played 9 games. How have you assessed the abnormal start to Parris Campbell's career in the NFL?
Yeah, his is so frustrating because when he's healthy and on the field, he's an obvious playmaker. He displays everything that they drafted him for. You see it right away. You don't have to wonder what the Colts were thinking when they drafted him. As a runner, pass catcher, he's done kickoffs. He's been compared before to like how the Vikings used to like to use Percy Harvin, and you see it. It's just so frustrating because he just keeps getting injured, and it's just stuff that's out of his control, and they're not quick injuries either. He was a pretty healthy guy at Ohio State. A lot of people call him injury prone and stuff. I mean, which is fair because he has obviously been prone to injuries since he's come to the NFL. But again, he was healthy at Ohio State, and he's getting a lot of fluky stuff that requires like procedures. He's had a broken foot, a broken hand, sports hernia surgery. He had that knee issue last year from someone hitting him at an odd angle in the knee. All of that is out of his control. He's not getting all these soft tissue injuries and, poorly conditioned or anything like that. So that's just been really frustrating. We all hope so badly that he can string together a full season this year.
Really hope so. And the Colts wide receiver, the group that they have with Michael Pittman Jr. and then Zach Pascal and T.Y. Hilton, Parris Campbell can be utilized in a great way with that team. Unfortunate the injury to Carson Wentz. I did hear rumblings that he may start week 1, which would be amazing for all the Colts fans out there. But Parris Campbell can be utilized and to kind of be a special type of athlete that I don't think any of the other 3 receivers that I've mentioned are. If he stays healthy, what can we expect from Parris Campbell this season?
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking at last year and the brief period he was there as a little snapshot. So he led the team with 6 catches for 71 yards in week 1, and then he got hurt week 2 on an end around. I would think that he would probably wind up with 60 catches. I don't want to give him anything gaudy like 80, 90 or anything, but I think they'd probably want to get him about 60 catches. He would have, I would think, at least 15 or 20 carries because they like to use him that way too. Frank Reich has not been secretive at using Parris Campbell. He loves him. And when he's been out there for those 9 games, they get him the ball a lot. So the competition for getting the ball is a little better than it has been. Michael Pittman's going to need some. They've got 3 tight ends, Nyheim Hines, Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack. So there's a lot of mouths to feed, and that offense doesn't just operate through one guy. They like to spread it around. So I think he'll still get the ball quite a bit if he's healthy. And man, I think he averages over 8 yards per touch for his career so far, running and receiving. So probably something in that same ballpark. But man, during training camp, he's looked good. His route running, especially, he's got such sudden movements, and he leaves guys in the dust, and he's doing it again during this training camp. So he looks like he's in mid-season form. So I'm ready to see him out there.
How does a new quarterback utilize a weapon like Campbell when Campbell has not been a big piece of the offense and the continuity of the offensive group before?
That's tough to say because Carson, he's been injured, so you don't really know who his favorite guys are. I would imagine Michael Pittman is probably going to be his guy if I had to guess. But he's tried to form chemistry with all of those guys. They threw their before OTAs when Carson was traded for, obviously during OTAs, in between OTAs and training camp, they all got together. So there's a little bit of chemistry there. It's got to be a total wait and see. We just don't know. Like Phillip Rivers last year, we all kind of assumed T.Y. Hilton or Michael Pittman would probably be his guy, even Jack Doyle. The first guy he really meshed with was Mo Alley Cox. And, no one really necessarily said that was going to happen right away. So you just really don't know. Parris Campbell, if he runs a little more intermediate and downfield stuff, might gel with Carson Wentz quite a bit. I think he's going to get his touches regardless, but it's tough to say until we see Carson out there too.
That's true. Do you have any last comments about Parris Campbell going into the season?
Man, I just can't say anything except for I hope he stays healthy because he is such a playmaker when he is. It's an element to this offense that I just really can't remember the Colts having in a while. You've had Reggie Wayne and Marvin Harrison, who were more traditional receivers. Same thing with T.Y. Hilton. Hilton and Harrison could, do the long ball and things like that. I'm trying to think of the last time the Colts had someone with Parris Campbell's skill set and how they plan to use him. And it's been a while, if ever.
It has been. Jake, people on YouTube can see your Twitter handle. People that are listening cannot. This is the last time Jake will be with us on our Buckeye road trip around the NFL. Could you let those listeners, the audio listeners, know where they can find you on Twitter and let everyone know they can catch all your work covering the Indianapolis Colts for Sports Illustrated?
Yep. So you can find me on Twitter and Facebook at Jake Arthur NFL. Horseshoehuddle.com. You can also just go to si.com and go to their Colts coverage. But I'm just pouring a whole lot of content into there right now. Training camp still in the thick of it. Still got about another 8 days, I think. Or 8 more practices, 6, something like that. Still got about a week or so regardless. But yeah, it's there's a lot going on right now, and the season's going to be here before all of us know it. So if you're looking for some Colts coverage, hopefully I can be your guy.
Hope so. Jake Arthur, it has been a lot of fun helping us to continue the Buckeye road trip around the NFL, hitting Tyquan Lewis and Parris Campbell. Thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.